Hi there, and welcome to the Curious Collective podcast, conversations designed for the veteran and first responder community to bring awareness to those holistic practices that help us live our best life. So tap into the wisdom and knowledge of our guests to heal, transform, and live as your true soulful self. Listeners, with us today, we have the amazing Michael, who is from Heroic Hearts Australia. I think I met Michael online only, haven't met face to face yet, maybe about 12 months ago when I connected in to follow what him and his amazing co-founder of Heroic Hearts Australia, Holly, have been doing. Now, she's one of our earlier episodes on the podcast. So make sure you check that out as well. But welcome, Michael. It's been a long time coming, us being here to have this conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kate. It has been I just, let the path unfold as it does. We sort of hit some just timing things and clashes and all sorts of things. But, you had like I like to think of Holly as our main podcaster, so she's the pro I say, but that's good. It's good to finally get on here.
Absolutely. So please introduce yourself to the listeners and what it is that you're doing in the world right now.
So at the moment, as you mentioned, I co-founded Heroic Hearts Australia, Project Australia with Holly. And I've become the taken on the CEO role there, and Holly the COO role. And so, as many may know, there's a wider Heroic Hearts project that started initially in the States, and they've been taking people through retreat style psychedelic therapy programs. And and then the UK followed suit, and Canada for a period there. And we felt that same need here, and Holly and myself got together after doing advocacy in the space for a few years and feeling that need, and Holly being a first responder, myself being a veteran, and then we started up Heroic Hearts Project Australia. And so I work in that's one of the big things I'm working on. I also do a lot of advocacy in the space. Um, might be conferences and things like that, and also work with institutions like the universities, Monash University, the Psychedelics Lab, and also peak bodies like AMAP and things like that, and also what was the other thing? Oh, I've forgotten. That can't be that important, but yeah,
How do you feel
many.
Australia is taking up this? It's a slow burn, but are you finding that you're getting traction in all the spaces that you're having the conversations?
Yeah, I mean, since I started my journey back in, I mean, I started exploring these medicines for my own healing back in 2018, 19. And personally, I came back and I got a few funny looks and thinking, oh, I've been through this profound experience, a healing experience. I'm a sort of an engineer technician mindset, and I'm kind of like, didn't think I was throwing any massive concepts out there that were too far out. But I wasn't received too well when I came back then, and I noticed a lot of people were pretty closed off to it. Probably, you know, thought of me differently because I'd gone into something they were uncomfortable about. But I've seen,
Mm,
this shift happen slowly. I've seen it unfold since then, and I've seen, and there's probably a lot of OGs in the space that are like, 10, 15 years prior to me coming into it, patting me on the head saying, you're still a young pup in this game. But and I do consider myself still late in this evolution, but I've
mm,
even in my time, I've like seen the unfolding of people opening up, and all ranges of people from grandparents to younger generation, really opening up to these medicines and opening up to the power of them if they're done in the right way, and
mm,
varying levels of comfortability with the topic. But I've noticed that the veteran sort of entry point has been a really amazing entry point in the way that there's really been not many people that I've had come to me and say I'm against this. I've had people with reservations and things like that. But generally, they're like, if this is going to help veterans heal,
Mm.
I'm all for it, even if it's outside my little comfort zone for me personally. So
Mm.
I've seen that change and shift, and then like obviously I went into a bit of advocacy, and then I found that, yeah, you know, all of a sudden it was just really becoming really widely accepted, and now we're in this space where we've become one of the first countries in the world to really like formalize it into our medical system and TGA rescheduling, and then that's opened up a whole new um, era, and the fact that it's become part of the medical system, it's really
Mm.
even people that are really staunch with their like, oh, if it's in the medical system, I believe in it and I'll advocate for it. But if it's
Strange.
not, I'm out. That wall that was in between those two worlds
Yeah.
has been now we've got this little crossover point. So it's been really interesting, and I've just seen it unfold, and it's coming into this space that I believe we're going to soon enough we'll be in this space where it's kind of like that self-evident stage, the self-evident
Mm.
stage where they say the truth goes through, and then it's like, okay, everyone will just be like, yeah, of course,
Yeah.
psychedelics are part of our healing. Of course, psychedelics have this ability, certain ones to help people through this or traumas or things. And
Mm.
it's like, I'm seeing that. I feel like I don't know where we are exactly, but I'm seeing it unfold slowly.
Yeah, I'm feeling and seeing it as well. I work in a recovery center, and there was people I didn't know, new people, casuals that came in, and two were in the hot spa and one was in the cold. And the two in the hot spa started talking about, psychedelic assisted therapies and stuff that they'd experienced. And then old mate, when they switched over in the spas, they just started having this conversation, and then they were talking about this and that, and like and then I came over and then someone else came in and it was just this big conversation. I'm like, this is fantastic. So that, yeah, just even though I guess the information and knowledge isn't there yet, the curiosity was to explore that as a pathway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
which
And,
must make it refreshing for you who's been like, hey guys, over here, listen to this.
yeah, it was a tough period, like I felt like, oh, wow, just felt like a little, I was in this dark period where that perception, because I was taking that path, it was just felt that rejection a little bit. And then I've seen that shift, and it's been a change in me going, oh, I can actually talk about these things more openly now. And
Mm.
with context, like there's a spectrum within psychedelic therapy, and as long as it's, like there are still those conditions of like, hey, is it done in the right way? Is it done
Mm.
with good process, with high integrity, with good practitioners? And there's all caveats to that as well. It's not just, hey, all psychedelics in all contexts are great for all, for everyone and all conditions.
Yeah.
It's like still that little precursor of yeah, that those sort of caveats in there that, hey, it's not just this open door.
Which I guess is with any sort of medications or healing work. What works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another. And intention. Intention for me is always number one. You can't go into an experience with the intention that, I'm going to triple my DNA helix by 1,000, and also respecting whatever medicine is that you're sitting with, whether it be the breath, whether it be, the plants, what is always that um, going into it with the right knowledge and grounding behind it.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I suppose we could probably like, I don't know how much we want to go into the space of things, but that is like everything. It attracts all sorts of people, and it attracts all, people that may not have the highest intentions and all of that. And there is probably a lot of space for profit but it's all sorts of there's still differences in values in the space. So, not to be under any illusions of that it's all just this, you know, um,
Sunshine and roses.
yeah, sunshine and roses and this panacea that, it's just, there's still the work element as well, still the
Mm,
like the grounded approach. And I think that's why Holly and myself work together really well. We've
mm.
just been that way. We kind of just really grounded in that way of like, hey, I'm not trying to sell
A
anything.
magic pill.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I'd love to talk to you more about your experience, what you said you were ex-military and that you've come through and through the plants. So also on the end of that, maybe we can have a conversation about the integration work and about what the medicine's actually there to provide for us and what it actually provided for you at that time.
Yeah, that's huge. And there's just levels and levels to it. But for me personally, and even to my own experience, it's kind of it's still out, it's still only small elements I can share of it, and there's still parts I just hold to myself. There's
Mm,
parts that I that are kind of something I'd have in a deeper conversation, maybe, or like a like to only share with really people close to me. There's,
yeah.
it's funny how and that's kind of something we talk about is like there's elements of the experience, for you personally that you can hold that gold.
Mm.
And
Oh,
yeah,
I like that. Hold that gold. That's excellent.
hold the gold. And but for me, so yeah, a bit of my background is I started Air Force. Did 10 years in the Air Force as like fighter jet technician, avionics. So I used to, as a kid, I was in the fixing stereos and things like that. And my nan, I was going to join the infantry army, like some family members. And my nan was just nudging me like that I should give the Air Force a try. And so I
Thanks,
thought,
Nan.
yeah. So I said, oh, nan, this is going to be funny for you when I fail out of this, and then I can go join the army. And it kept expecting to fail and just kept sort of like making my way through. It was pretty funny.
Mm.
Um, But yeah, I ended up found myself in front of a jet working on jets. I wasn't like a jet fanatic or anything. I was always into motorbikes and things like that. But I was like, oh well, here I am. I may as well run with
How
this.
surreal.
Yeah, sitting in front of a screaming F-111, just going, okay,
Multi-million
well,
dollar aircraft.
yeah, this is my life now, I
Mm.
suppose. I've I didn't fail out, and so then I think my nan was having a little giggle to herself, like just yeah. Anyway, but found my way there, and then um, yeah, sort of worked my way through that. Became a supervisor, started being a assessor and things like that. And on the side, I was actually became a motorcycle instructor. So I was like training to do like licensing, and then I worked my way into racetrack advanced stuff, and that's a career that I still dabble in now. Still coach people on the side and still help them with the high. I enjoy the really high level track riding stuff, the advanced stuff, and then I took a year off after 10 years, and I went and worked. Um, I joked that I was going to go work at Domino's Pizza and just like deliver pizzas and take a bit of a rest break, but I ended up getting a job as a MRH-90 helicopter instructor,
Yeah, wow.
and so I was like, yeah, working for Eurocopter, doing that with the Navy and the Army and all of that, and did that for a year, and then came back as an electrical engineering officer, and went through ADFA, like the advanced, like as a advanced student kind of
Mhm.
thing. So, and not having to go through the whole cadet training, luckily.
Thankfully, yeah.
Yeah, so I just did the degree, and then sort of worked my way through that as an officer, and then yeah, I had my own like personal battles. I ended up being medically discharged and diagnosed with a few mental health issues. So it had a few events happen through my career, which knocked me around a little bit. And yeah, the usual, prescribed with a lot of meds, pretty dosed
Mm.
up extremely, and then struggled battling with that and the side effects and the withdrawals and all sorts of things, trying to like get off some of those things. So I found my way over in Ecuador, and so working with those medicines, it really took me to some challenging places within myself, but it seemed to really break through. Um, I think a lot of those like internal programmed in barriers that were preventing me from going into some depths and really shifting some things deeply. So yeah, and it's really hard to summarize, but almost like my like what I built up and my own conditioning program that was serving me really well in the military was also like preventing me from going into some healing through traditional psychotherapy, and it And for some way, it just was able to take me into this, in through that altered state work and through a lot of the things that are really hard to explain, that they call it like the ineffable, mystical sort of experience that can come with some of these medicines, and also the bodily stuff that happens. Like you can feel a bit of nausea, you can feel certain things, and it can be not just all mental, it can be in the body as well. And the combination of all these things, it just happened to really take me to some places um, which are incredibly difficult, but also just yeah, just seemed to crack me into a place which helped me release and reconnect with myself in a way I
Mm.
hadn't in a long, long time.
Do you think it sort
And
of created space for you to be able to then go there, whereas perhaps before there wasn't the space?
the space, you mean the container of, say, the
Mm,
ceremony and things? I mean, yeah, that contributes to it, but I mean, I'd have to say, yeah, yeah, and obviously you've got a guidance from you. We work with, say, high-level medicine men, and they will sing songs, and they will help that medicine work through. They provide that, and they give you that best possibility to go to those places,
mm.
and they sort of guide it in through the music. It's amazing. It's really
Yeah, sounds amazing.
yeah, and it's just things that I just wouldn't have understood,
Mm,
or probably just you know didn't know what I was entering into, but it was amazing, exactly what I needed. And yeah, and through those spaces, I was able to release a lot of what I was carrying, a lot of grief, a lot of understandings and things. And the next day, I came out of it, tired and all of that. But there was another Aussie guy there that I really got on well with, and they were just laughing and just cracking jokes and all that sort of stuff. And like the funny reflection for me was he was sort of looking at me like I was a different person, and he's kind of like,
mm,
I actually didn't know you this funny. Like, you came in here pretty serious and you came in here pretty guarded and all these sorts of things, I suppose. And he just saw that shift in me and he reflected it back to me, and I kind of went, wow. And then I went, oh, I haven't felt like this in years.
mm.
I mean, I haven't felt this light. I haven't felt this like myself in so long. Then I went, oh wow, okay, something has really shifted. And because I was just going, wow, that was hard. I'm like,
Yeah.
why would you do that? That's just, why would you do something like that? It's just but yeah, in the questioning, like it was challenging. Do I really want to
Mm,
step in and do that again? But even though there was just absolute, really beautiful, profound parts to it, but that shift was just evident from the first one, and then there was multiples after that. And yeah, so I came back, and I had shifted, and something within me had really changed, and it just changed my whole lens on my life, on my
mm,
this new chapter going forward. But it wasn't the end of the story. Then it became oh, okay, here's the work, here's a lot of the work of trying
mm,
to really like um hold that space or support that, and not revert back into old ways. And that's where I didn't have the support. I didn't have integration coach. I didn't understand any of that. And
mm,
so through this whole process, I've got to learn that that's why we sort of work with integration coaches. That's why we provide integration coaches with the charity.
mm,
So yeah, so for my personal journey, and I went back and did some more work, and then I understood a bit more about doing the work, trying to
mm.
support these states. And then I shared my story. I wrote it in a book. Um, I'm sorry, did you have any questions or
No, this is
no?
good. I'm
Okay.
listening.
Yeah. Okay. Because what happened is I came back, and then my friend said to me, oh, I told him a little bit about the experience, and he was quite open to it. And I was doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu actually, and he was a mate of mine, and he sent me a link, and he said, "Oh, they're going to do this healing stories book. Do you want to like, write a bit about your story?" And I kind of went, "Oh, yeah, I could probably write something up." I just wanted to contribute to advocacy in some way, shape, or form, or
Share
think,
your experience.
yeah, I just thought like maybe if I just really share my story and my own barriers to it, and all these sorts of things that maybe it can help someone else. And
Yeah.
I thought I'll do that because I thought I'll do that anonymously because you had that option.
Mm.
So I did. I wrote this whole story up and then I was like anonymous and I was like ready to hit send. And it's funny how a lot of people say that they have these little intuitive things, connections like with, like working with these medicines. It's really funny. And I kind of didn't really subscribe to, like I'm elect engineer mindset, really analytical. And I'm kind of like, oh, nah, come on, you know. But I just got this real clear voice and it just was almost like saying to me, um, okay, so why don't you want to put your name on it? And I was like,
Mm.
oh, I just would rather put it out there and then I don't have to, I don't want to claim credibility. I don't want to,
Mm.
necessarily want any validation. I don't want
Stay in the
to
shadows.
for it, yeah, I don't want it for it to be about me sort of thing. And I was kind of like that. And then an element of it's like, oh, is there an element of shame around that story? Like, is there an element of you that's maybe doesn't want to put it out publicly with your name to it because the family might see
Mm.
it or these people might see it and they might think this and this and this. And I'm like,
Mm.
oh, okay. Because a part of the story was like, oh, don't be afraid to share your story. Don't be,
Mm.
it's it's empowering to help others through it, and to share your challenges and stuff. I was like, oh, so you kind of like, not really, isn't your own advice to like story? And I was just like, oh no, like I just went through this funny process, and I was like, all
Oh, I
right,
love this.
put my name on it. So I just went, yeah, put my name on it.
Did you give yourself a little pat on the back, or were you a bit like, oh God, I just did that?
Oh, when I hit send and it was one of many stories, and I was going, oh, okay, great, it was going to blend into like,
Mm.
whatever, all these other amazing stories out there. But it did get a little bit of traction, and then it was kind of like, hey, that's a nice story. Would you like to speak on ABC, or would you like to
Mm.
speak on, would you like to speak on the project? We're going to get them around your house and do, and I was just like going, whoa. And with this whole thing, I was kind of like, you know, just stick to my why. Like, why am I doing it? Why did I write the story? Why did I do this? And I was like, let go of all of the other uh,
Mm.
things about the mind saying, oh, but they'll think this and that, all of
Yeah.
that side of the house. And it's like the why am I doing it? Why? And I was really wanted to help break down stigma, break down barriers, share, hopefully help others that have lost hope and that are going, I'm out of options. I don't know what to do. There's nothing out there. There's nothing
Mm.
available. Maybe for them to have something of maybe there is something available. I thought the same and I had this. So I was like, oh, stick to the why, stick to the why. And through all of this, that's just what I was doing. I was like, well, this is getting really crazy. Like I've got these,
It was
the pro
unfolding around you.
yeah, and a lot of interviews and I wasn't a public speaker or anything like that. So I started doing a lot of that, a lot of TV, a lot of radio, and then speeches in like openings of things like the Neuromedicines Discovery Center, and I was becoming it's like a leading voice in this shift, in this change,
Mm.
and through my story and lived experience, and it happened really quickly, and then so yeah, I found my way. Um, linking in and meeting a lot of amazing people in the space through all of that. And then Holly and myself decided, hey, look, how about we sort of do something that helps people because Holly was doing the same and we were advocating alongside each other. I'd say because now and then I'd be like, oh, I don't want to do this interview. I think I'm going to take a break, like, and it's talking with Holly. I'm like, you keen, Holly? You want to do an interview? And she's
Mm.
so then Holly stepped up and she was becoming like a leading voice in it as well and doing really well. And so then we just decided, hey, like this has really helped us. How about we create something that is exactly what we did and helps others access that.
Wow, absolutely. And I'm sure there was even a
Yeah.
lot of growth in that process. You know, from not being a public speaker to then doing all these different things and then also then collaborating and creating what we now know as Heroic Arts Australia. What kind of growth did you get through that?
Um, I was kind of like there's a bit of snakes and ladders. Like I was it's one of my teachers he talks about this, and that journey with working with some of these medicines is a constant humbling.
Mm,
Um, you know, just when you think you're kind of like, oh yeah, getting the hang of this, and I'm getting, I'm figuring out a lot and about, these medicines and this work, because it's just so like I'll say again, ineffable and mystical and stuff, and
mm,
you don't know going in what's going to come up for you, and because I'm doing the work as well, I'm sitting with these medicines and trying to, you know, still do my own work, even after I've initially done it. So, often I was getting humbled when I was kind of like, oh, I'm going in this direction. I'm sort of getting a bit attached to it, and this is the way it's going to look like, and da 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 da. And then next thing, I'd sit and do my own work with the medicines through a retreat or something, and I'd just get steamrolled. Like, no, your ego's getting too big. You need to,
mm,
like knock me off my pedestal, knock me off, anything that was coming up there, and I'd get humbled, and then I'd get this whole shift in trajectory. And Hero Carts was one of those. I was in advocacy in some way, and I thought it had a trajectory, and I could see where, potentially this is how I could help the space. This is how, I was really attached to it, and I just knocked over. Okay, no, you're starting again, and you're going to start from the grassroots, and you're going to be doing this. I'm like,
mm,
this is what will be more in line with who you are, and
mm.
who you've grown to be through this process. And it was brutal at times, but I wouldn't have it any other way because yeah. So no, it's been amazing.
And what I would love to talk about is the integration piece. So when you very first went to Ecuador, you didn't have that, but now you've learnt even through your own experiences and you've bought into this heroic hearts. I know the US does it, but Australia, when I've been speaking with you both, has got an amazing integration process. Why is that important to you?
Well, it's really important because the experience is like this. I think it's Michael Pollan might use that analogy about the snowfields, and you're snowing down the mountain, and at the end of the day, all the tracks are worn into the mountain, and they're really embedded in. But then overnight, you get this fresh snow, and then in the morning, you start at the top of the slope, and there's that potential to choose your path. You can create new paths. You can create and embed different habits and different routines and things like that. So, and that's, really simple explanation about neuroplasticity and what happens. We're through the process of ceremony where we could potentially reset our microbiome. We could reset the balance of our brain, our hemispheres of our brain. We could bring parts online and sort of it's like they say within your mind, there's kind of like this default mode network, I think, and I'll
Mm,
do my best to explain it, but that can be like this little doom loop that we can be find ourselves trapped in, like a room of habit and perception that we get locked into, and that then sets our reality, and
mm,
through this process we can really like wake our mind up and then escape from that and have our higher levels of cognitive thinking, things come online and go, oh wow, this is amazing. But there is that chance that we can just fall back into that if we don't have all of these processes afterwards.
mm,
And a lot of those processes, comes down to diet, comes down to your morning routine, comes down to it could be journaling, but just things that are keeping that active, and things that are also going to help you, like anchor in that state.
mm,
You've maybe had a really amazing experience and it's going to fade away over time, but you can do things that help you in your day, sort of bring in that space, bring in that state, and just
mm,
bring yourself into a really good space to enter the day. And yeah, and I think like Jesse, I spoke to Jesse, who's the founder of Heroic Hearts project in America, and he's really big on the micro habits, those little things, and also a teacher of mine over in Peru says, you can change these micro habits, and in a short time, you can look back and just go, I don't even know that person,
mm,
I don't even know who that is. I've just changed these little things over time, and built up my routine, built up my day,
Yeah, I love
and
that.
then all of a sudden into someone that, you look back and that other person's unrecognizable.
Mm,
So it's crucial, and it's hard to, and that's where, we talk about the work. It's like it's great to have a peak experience. It's great to feel like amazing, and it's not to, lessen that. It's powerful. It can
mm,
really inspire you to take on the next chapter after. But also it's like, hey, reality check. Life doesn't do itself.
mm,
You still have to get up. You still have to do the things. You still have, life's still
mm.
going to come at you. And yeah, these things are going to give you a bit more armor, a bit more resilience
And I feel like as well, it's like
sort of go
you
through
might
it.
see how, yeah, through it, growing through it. It's like life
Yeah.
isn't coming at you, it's coming for you and then through you. It's like how you then perceive what the external environment is providing to you through the micro habits. I love that. And through reflection and curiosity and looking at what's coming to you in the daily life and perhaps seeing it differently after your experience. Yeah,
Yeah.
magical.
Yeah. So, do you have any other what else would you like me to speak on?
Well, I also would love to know. So, if there are people out there that, have perhaps had conversations in a recovery center around it, but they're seeking more information, or, there might be something, a book you'd refer them to, or podcasts, or coming to read more in Heroic Hearts Australia, or what, people are peeping through the door curious. What's your advice to them if they're just starting out?
Yeah, if you're just starting out, I suppose like it's probably good to know like what's happening in space because I think there's a lot of hey this the local landscape of psychedelic assisted therapies is emerging and it's great and we're really supportive of it and I'd probably speak on it in a little bit about some other ways we're kind of working in that space. And it's great, but it is slow. It's a really
Mm,
slow process and it's really expensive um, at the moment. And as it evolves, it's probably going to find ways and funding, and hopefully we're going to get DVA funding and things like this that are going to really help psychedelic assisted therapies become um, more accessible for veterans. Um, and yeah, so I'll just, not to be negative about it, but just that's just where we're at. We're at that
mm,
stage where it's unfolding, and we've had, um, like we've got Luke Damon, who's we work with. He's an amazing man, and he's done his best to try and work through it himself, and he's an advocate in the space, but the barriers, the funding's not quite there yet. So it's good to know that before entering into it, thinking that, hey, you might be able to just roll into a
yeah.
local psychedelic assisted therapy program. It's not quite that pathway is still emerging. And then also, to do it with, we're probably only going to want to work with certain practitioners, or there'll be only certain pathways we recommend.
Mm,
Because yeah, there's just um, probably other pathways and other practitioners that we may not, be fully supportive of. But so yeah, it's a big space, and there's a lot of it's like a spectrum of therapies underneath that, and there's a lot of different ways of approaching it, and some, we're kind of more in line with, and others we're not. Not to shame that, but it's just not really maybe where we'd point you. Um, So yeah, we're seeing the funding model unfold. We're seeing like we've been working a bit with the local landscaping, like helping the guidelines. They're all unfolding, and the confidence is sort of growing, and in the practitioners and the qualifications, it's all
mm,
standing up. But at the moment, yeah, in the way of MDMA therapy and psilocybin therapy, yeah, there's a lot of barriers. And if you want to self-fund, you're looking at probably anywhere from 20 to $40,000. Um, and then there's obviously, other avenues of like, see, ketamine therapies, that's kind of in a different basket,
yeah.
which is it's got its uses and but yeah, we don't really we haven't really supported that, or we don't really like point people towards that for a few reasons. But and then for us, our program is you know a lot cheaper in that way. It's a bit of a journey, and ours is more in that traditional context of retreat style group
Mm.
therapy, and we're working with local indigenous in the countries where it's legal,
Yeah.
or potentially places like the Netherlands who are their medical system are they've brought in psilocybin therapy in a group context in retreat. So there's a whole spectrum, and we kind of will usually do an induction with people and we see where they're at because obviously medications and things like that
Mm.
are important to know, and you might need to get off certain things because of the I think it's called contraindications, or that
Yeah.
can't really do the experience unless you're off certain meds. But we can do an induction, and then we sort of feel out what's more suitable, and it's also like about what that person feels comfortable with as well.
Mm.
Because sometimes, say the psilocybin retreat, which is probably more, um, you know, similar to a Western model, um, that might be more where they
Mm.
resonate with, or psilocybin specifically, or something like that. Whereas, in Peru or Colombia, it's going to be with in a more traditional context where you get, say, an elder, a medicine man come in, and
Yeah.
they will do it through their framework, which is more traditional. And like I said, that's also like a different experience as well than the medical model, which is really, like they extract a certain component of that medicine and
Yeah.
they deliver it in a very exact form, and that's
And I don't think the men in the lab coats would sing to you. Like when you mentioned before that the elders, traditional medicine keepers sing to you, I'm like, my whole body went, yes.
yeah,
Like I'd love that.
yeah, yeah. I kind of I'm fascinated by it in some ways because I like but it's funny because I'm an electrical engineer and I just love, you know, that's what we do. We analyze like frequencies and vibrations and
Mm.
things like that. And when you think about that and how it sort of activates, seems to work with the medicine, yeah, I kind of go down a lot of pathways, and
Your curious mind goes crazy.
yeah, it really fascinates me. It does fascinate me. But yeah, their ability, so that you work with them in that context, and it's more traditional, as in, these plants are as they are in nature,
Yeah.
and you're working in a place where it's really like working with nature, being in nature, and all
Very
that.
grounded.
Yeah, it's just a different way, and it's not to say one's better or
Yeah.
worse. It's just where you know, the main thing is that the person entering into it feels really safe and supported through it. And
And open.
yeah, and some people are like, no, I really, the medical system is where I need to go. I feel that trust with our, having a person, a therapist from
Mm.
Australia, work with them, and two therapists in that model in that
Hmm.
specific way. It's like, great. Like, go where what resonates with you,
Yeah.
and those that want to go down the other path, and they're sort of happy to explore it in a supported way, like because you're not also going into that alone. You're going with the best thing is that, so like I did when I went over there. You've got we do a lot of preparation as well, and help get people prepared to go over there, understand the
Mm.
context, understand ways to navigate it, and then we make sure that they're over there and they're looked after from the moment, either
Mm.
at the airport leaving or when they arrive, taken through the whole process. And there's always someone there to support,
I love
Um,
that.
yeah. So, and that way yeah, it's just probably provides a lot of reassurance for people because it is. I forget sometimes that there's a lot of things that I had to get through to lean into that experience. And there's a lot of points of like leaps of faith into just that I was going to be held
Mm.
through it. And mine was probably different because it was, I was really just taking a leap of faith, like research a retreat myself and just hope, okay, let's just hope that this is going to work.
Yeah.
But yeah, but
And I've been told, and I don't know if you just want to talk into this slightly, that sometimes, and I think you did talk into it before when you were getting those gentle, intuitive nudges, that the plants actually speak to you. Not necessarily, you know, as a voice, but like you get those subtle nudges and hints and your own intuition sparking up after having sat with them.
Yeah, well, I think there's multiple ways to look at it, and this is where I like to just propose certain things and hey, there's plenty of opportunity to work with and talk to people over there and listen to the way that they relate with these medicines and the way they relate with these medicines and but it's not like you necessarily need to take that on. It can be inquiring into it, and
Mm.
then just sort of like leave what doesn't resonate and take what resonates.
Yeah, I like that.
Always like that. And yeah, like it's quite fascinating to listen to like the medicine men over there and their way of relating to and dialoguing with the medicine being at
Mm.
that this and they often call it the grandmother and it does seem like you're sitting with this grandmother of all grandmothers and sometimes like she's like giving you a little clip around the back of the ear like, oh look, I love you, but just don't do that.
Yeah.
You know and then the way they talk about they obviously interact with I think they say the great spirit, depends on where you are, but great spirit, and they'll have like a each plant spirit sort of has a characteristic in the way that they
Mm.
and they are kind of like the person that knows that energy of that plant really well,
Mm.
and they I think they call it divining. They divine that spirit, and they help the space. They help everyone go through that healing by really knowing how that medicine works and how to talk to it and how to
Mm.
sing to it or sing around it.
Mm.
And whatever you want to believe around that, then I can jump into this other space of going, well, what does that result in? What does that mean for me? And what does it mean for me is that when you're working with a group of people, there's so many high level subtlety skills that are involved in taking people through such a deep experience
Mm.
that it takes traditionally, you know, tens, 20, you know, 10, 5, 10 years, you're just a junior, like
Mm.
you're learning the ropes. You're an apprentice still.
Mm.
But 20 years, 30 years, and some of these elders that we get in are 80, 100 years. They've
Yeah,
been
wow.
working with it for a long time. And to get those high level skills of working with a group and the subtleties of it, and to get everyone through this really incredibly profound mystical experience
Mm.
well intact and support them through it. It's what it means is that they can do that really well without people spiraling into all sorts of places without,
Mm.
because there are a lot of people out there doing it and they shouldn't be. They don't
Mm.
have the experience or they are very junior. They're probably managing groups they shouldn't. And they're taking people through these experiences when they probably really don't have those high level skills. And what happens is, it can result in people having experiences where they come out of the experience, worse than they went in. And
Mm.
that's, that can be that is extreme, but that's the difference. People can come out of this
Mm.
worse
It's
than they
the
went in.
truth of it. Yep.
And that's just the way it is. And so having, yeah, so when they really are masters of their craft, it just means that the space just feels, because especially veterans and people with high level traumas, it's just they need to be really know that the place is contained, safe, and then they can go into the healing. If those criteria aren't met, then you can't. They're going to be guarded or potentially go into places of dissociation to cope
Mm.
with the experience, but not go through healing in the
Yeah, the
experience.
resistance will
You
hold
know,
them back from what they could receive.
so it doesn't matter what you believe in, even if you want to, if that is part of your belief, it's not. It doesn't really matter. But
Mm.
what we see it as is that we're taking people through an experience where they can go into the healing and
Mm.
come out better than they went in. And
And I know that even happens in breath work, in that deep transformational conscious connected breath if the space isn't held down and the pre-frames aren't set properly and whoever's facilitating it can also produce a not so favorable experience.
Yeah.
Mm.
And yeah, I'm not sure if you want to sort of divert into that, but on that, like we've also got an amazing team of so we've got like a chief medical health officer, Simon Raffel, he's one of the leading researchers in ayahuasca and plant medicines and things like that in the retreat style setting. And we also now and then we can have veterans go on retreats through on Aya Science, and they do full they're actually leading the world with research around these medicines, and they're doing brain scans, they're doing
Oh,
epigenetics,
wow.
they're doing gut like microbiome.
Hmm.
So they take all of these indicators before they go into a retreat, and then they're taking them again when they come out. And
Fascinating.
they've got these indicators of trauma, and they've been able to really quantify, within the body a lot of these indicators of trauma, and then they're measuring them on the exit of the retreat.
Mm.
Excuse me, and the results are profound. It's just blowing. Yeah, he was so excited when the results started coming through, but it's not just this whole I went through experience and it's been great and sort of a personal experience. We're also interacting and working with leading research people in leading research, and they're gathering a lot of data to support this work as well. And
Mm.
so, from a lot of ways, we're just yeah, really excited for how this is unfolding, and it's
I'm
a
also looking forward to the trajectory of how this goes. Yeah.
yeah, it's just
Um,
good to have that data backing and things like that, so that we're also building that so that we can use that as a support for these programs as well.
Absolutely. And make it more accessible for those that need it
Yeah.
in time. So I love all that you've shared so far. And I was just wondering if before we part ways, and I thank you for being here, is there anything else that you'd like to share with those listeners that perhaps are umming and ahhing about learning more and looking more into this space, just for that little nudge.
Um, yeah, so we've got one thing I'll share is we've got a retreat coming up in February, and then we may have, I'm not sure if we'll have one late that year or into the next year, but yeah, I just want them to know that, there's naturally going to be barriers and resistance in this, and everyone's got their personal journey, and we we don't want to push people over that because it's really that personal, that I think that's part of your own agency to, because it's not just, hey, people are going to do the healing for you. I think the part of that healing for yourself is to actually choose it, and
Stepping
then
up.
take a little bit of a leap of faith, but also knowing that, hey, look, if you do, and it can be uncomfortable, but
You're held.
there's good people to help you through it,
Mm,
and I think doing it with other veterans that understand, a lot of the complexities of being through what a lot of us have had to been through
mm.
in that path. Yeah,
I
I think it makes it a bit easier.
I love that. And I love that you mentioned self-agency. I don't feel like there has been enough of that in the past, but I feel like there's a lot more conversations around it now, and a lot more people are actually, going, oh, okay, it's me. I got to choose me. My purpose in life isn't external, it's me. So yeah, I think that it's a good time, and I'm hearing a lot more of it. And I think even as in the space you've been talking about with the slow movement, but also there is traction again with self-agency. Like I feel like people are actually going, okay, I don't really need all this external distraction. I just need to come back here.
Mm. And then I think another barrier is to it is sometimes there's a bit of resistance because of I don't know, like it's challenging in the concept elements of like, oh, if I go into this space, is it going to be all woo-woo and spiritual? You know what I mean? Or is it going to be
Mm,
like all this crazy stuff that's just going to be, challenge? It's not my thing, right? But what I do love about a lot of working with some of these indigenous or some of the people in South America and things like that, I think a lot of them really like the veterans as well, vet and
Mm,
first responders, because I think when you've been through like really, really hard things and you just come to a place of, hey, I'm just straight down the line,
mm.
like, you
No
know,
BS.
yeah, I'm just really clear. And I think a lot of them, because there is, hey, look, let's be honest, it's great that people are waking up to mindfulness and I don't know, spiritual concepts or whatever it is. There's seems to be a bit of an evolution going on there.
Mm,
But hey, there's a whole spectrum once again of things and which I probably wouldn't be going towards, and then there's others I'd sort of resonate more with. And I think a lot of the people that have come through, like, yeah, had pretty high level trauma, been a veteran and just, really solid in themselves. And I think that's another part of this journey is actually, hey, that's welcomed. Like we're
mm.
pretty straight shooters in
Yeah.
some ways, and so are the medicine, and they actually really love that
Mm,
authenticness. A lot of them do, and rather than a lot of yeah, just the authenticity, we're really for that.
mm.
Even if
I
it's
love that too. That's one of my
uncomfortable.
top values, so I'm in.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, that if that might be something that could be a little barrier there for people as well. So yeah.
We're not going to be singing Kumbaya in a loincloth in the middle of the jungle, sweating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yet.
Each to their own, hey, but
I'm up for that too.
yeah,
Uh, thank you so much for your time here with us today. I'm sure we could talk about many, many other things, but I think that's a beautiful entry point for people. And if they want to find out anything else about Heroic Hearts Australia, I will definitely have all the links wherever this is posted as well. But thank you so much for your time today.
you're welcome. Thanks for having me on.
No worries. And thank you, listeners. Katie out.